Hello and welcome to Scarlet Serpent readings. Thank you so much for joining me for this very special timeless pick a card reading because it's a collaboration with Helen from Eye of the Serpent Tarot, and she's wonderful. She's an incredible reader, really. Her experience shines through in all of her readings. She goes really deep, really quickly. So I'm very privileged to be able to do this collaboration with her. And so yeah, the collaboration is about the divine masculine and divine feminine energies. We're both going to be checking, I guess, diving deep into the energy of the divine masculine, which is what this reading is going to be, and then the divine feminine with Helen at Eye of the Serpent Tarot. I just want to clarify real quick, though, that this is not a twin flame reading. That these are just kind of like an energetic check-in with the energies within yourself. And so definitely I would suggest checking both of us out. And I'm just going to jump right in. We have 3 piles. Pile 1 is going to be this stone here. This is the Indigo Gabbro, also known as Mystic Merlinite. There you go. So this is going to be pile 1. I have pile 2 here, which is a labradorite sphere. There we go. Trying to get that shiny part in there, but okay. And then pile 3 is going to be this sphere here, which is sodalite. Okay. So take your time with your pile selection. If you need to pause the video, you can do that now. Otherwise, I'll meet you at your pile. Hi, pile 1. If you chose the Indigo Gabbro, also known as Mystic Merlinite, this reading is going to be for you. And as I had mentioned in the intro, this is, of course, a part of a collaboration with divine masculine and feminine energies with Helen at Eye of the Serpent Tarot. And so what I'm going to be doing is diving into your divine masculine energy. And I wanted to start off with the astrological aspects. I'm just going to kind of mention what popped out, but I'm not going to really get too deep into the astrology unless it becomes apparent during the reading. Just because, to be honest, it's not my strength. But these are the cards that are relevant to your divine masculine. And we have Taurus. Very grounded energy, lots of flowers. Get the sense of repetition here, structure, and feeling comfortable moving forward. And then we have the moon. So obviously the moon is usually not associated with necessarily masculine energy, although you could have like a Taurus moon. You could have the moon interacting, with more masculine signs within your chart. So I'll just take a look at it really quick and maybe reference back to this reading and see how it all connects for you, because this is, of course, a general reading. But I'm just going to leave these out, see if they come up later. So what I have a few cards already laid out. I'm going to, of course, do a few rows of clarifying cards, and then we'll just ask questions depending on where the reading goes. But I have for you a card from the divine, or the masculine archetype oracle, and the card that I have for you is the charlatan. Okay, and then another card that I have is the wisdom card from a different deck, and then I'll get into the tarot in a second. But the interesting thing about the charlatan is that it's a sub-archetype of the wizard. Interesting that the wizard wisdom kind of, there's that connection there, but this is a shadow attribute of the wizard, where there's a little bit of deceptive energy manipulation, and that deceptive energy comes from wounds and a desire to kind of take control of situations. And I think with wizardry and wisdom kind of creeping up a little bit, it shows that you have an understanding of the subtle energies and the way to kind of convince people, and being with the masculine energy. It's pretty interesting how it's almost like a blend of divine feminine and masculine energy coming together, but there's, because the masculine sign is a little wounded, and we're going to get into it a little bit later, but that might be why maybe at a subconscious level you may want to kind of justify certain actions that you do, justify white lying sometimes, and it kind of just happens. But we're going to dive in. That's not necessarily to call you out or anything like that. But I do find it interesting because the moon is here. So the moon ties in very nicely, or I don't know if nice is the appropriate word, but with the moon card in Charlatan, the sense of something beneath the surface, something brewing, and something that is beneath the consciousness of, probably it might be you, you know, the moon being your kind of shadow attribute, but also that shadow kind of reflecting out into various environments. But we're going to dive deeper with the tarot, and so let's take a look at that. Okay, so we have the Six of Lotuses, which is the Six of Cups. This imagery is about transition. I'll just say with this deck, I don't really read it very strictly as tarot. It's kind of like a hybrid oracle, but a strong sense of transition, definitely getting that feeling of reminiscing, but also maybe in childhood, like a sudden change like this, and maybe that's where this charlatan energy is coming from, because of something that happened at a young age that drastically shifted things out of nowhere. Whoops, wrong card. And that is what makes you feel the need to control the environment, because the environment in this card in particular has changed suddenly, without warning, and maybe outside of your parents' control or outside of the family control or something like that. It was just a drastic change, and that might be where the wound is coming from. We'll find out later, but now that I'm seeing it, we have the Sacrifice card, which again, I'm not going to bother trying to tie it to tarot. Yeah, but it ties together with the Six of Lotuses in this context, just because that might have been what it felt like. So there's a lot of past energy, not necessarily past life, although it could be. This more seems like childhood, something that you had to let go of, that was taken from you, and it was an environment that was comfortable, or a situation that was comfortable. It could be moving, it could be, this does feel environmental though, it does feel big. And it's kind of funny because I'm looking at the cards here and I'm saying the words and I see them on the, I'll get to it. So the next card is the Eight of Trees, which is Eight of Pentacles, which is that Virgo? Might be. I know it's an earth sign. You do have earth in your chart, at least that ties together, so it might be in that. And because this Eight of Trees is in the middle of the row that I have here, it really looks like it's transitioned from this chaotic phase into something where you have more control, or more perceived control, or even better yet, where you're more comfortable. And that being the masculine energy, especially with this amount of earth in your chart. Well, I'm already assuming that you have a lot of earth, but really it feels like, because of the elements here, that it's uncomfortable, that kind of change. It's uncomfortable, not just change, but very quick change. And that's why I don't know, maybe there's this part of you that almost feels comfortable with changing as well, your persona, which is where the mask comes from, and that might have been something you adopted from these unforeseen circumstances from childhood. Yeah, but let's continue with the Eight of Trees, just showing you that bridge there. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful imagery. But if I was to connect it to that card that I saw earlier from childhood, this is what it would look like. And it's settling now, now-ish. This wasn't really meant to be like the present moment, but it just happens to be in the middle. So I get this, yeah, this overall sense of feeling comfortable where you're at. But this energy of the charlatan really feels subconscious. So you might not be, if you don't resonate with that archetype, which isn't to say, again, like, this is just describing your masculine energy, and it just feels as though you might feel the need to control. It's not the oppressor card, there's a card like that, but it's control in a mystical, magical kind of way, where you deliberately, I'll just put myself out there, I'm guilty of this, like, not all the time, but it's happened, where like you telepathically influence people. So that might be something you catch yourself doing from time to time. But the next card is the Elementalist, which is interesting. I mentioned elements. This is the King. I believe it's the King. No, it's probably Queen. This is the Queen of Swords. But it's not, because it's the Elementalist, and it's a different card. It has a different feeling. It's being comfortable with all of the elements, and that comes because of, again, the Six of Lotuses, which was the water, that not just water, but a really quick emotional change here, an emotional upheaval. And again, this isn't something that you usually get from the Six of Cups, but in this deck it's like a sharp transition. And what this energy is showing is a transformation within yourself, or at least that potential, where you feel a lot more comfortable in manipulating the environment, comfortable with the air, the water, the fire, and earth within you. But that being said, it's interesting, because with the charlatan, it's like you're aware of those subtle energies of the fire, of being grounded, and other people's emotions. And if you're an empath, you could potentially subconsciously, sometimes in situations, I don't know, just try and change people sometimes. From, it's, I get this feeling of like sometimes with holding your breath from saying something that you wanted to say to someone, because they can't really handle what you have to say, even though it's right, and then you leave that environment, or they leave, but then you kind of project something, again, like telepathically or something like that, where there's repercussions, like they end up getting that information somehow. I don't know where that's coming from, but anyway, the last card we have is the Three of Birds. So that again, I wasn't looking, but this feels a lot like that pain. So we're gonna dig into this wound here that we have with the Three of Birds, which is the Three of Swords. We'll notice it's very different from, again, traditional, in that there's 3 different birds being shot in the heart by an arrow. So this could represent different people in your life that have gone, maybe transitioned, but also maybe losing friends, also maybe partners, and that could have been part of the change, because that's being mirrored in the Sacrifice card. So there's a bit of trauma, which is, again, possibly under your awareness and influencing this part of you who is very psychic. I have no doubt that this pile is very aware, very mystical. You chose the Mystic Merlinite, which is, in my opinion, like one of the most potent psychic stones that there is. Let's just clarify this row before diving into healing. I have a lot of cards out here, so I don't know if I'm going to use them all, but let's just clarify this row. That makes sense. So we have the King of Pentacles underneath the Six of Lotuses. A couple things. This could have been a father figure that caused this change, or that it's either that, or that's where you've gotten your desire to be a little more grounded, and that's why the Taurus is coming through fairly strongly. And that's also why the Eight of Trees, again, which is the Pentacles, would be in the middle of the reading. It's because there's building and security that is of, yeah, the most importance, especially for your divine masculine side, is being secure, because all of these sudden changes, this sudden trauma, this sudden environmental switch, this sudden loss, is something that's still hurting. And now it's all about taking control of your environment, really. I keep saying the environment because that feels fairly strong here, is not allowing yourself to be in the mercy of like tornado. That's not what I mean, but you know what I'm saying. If, like, as Mother Nature, she'll find a way to grow deeper roots or something along those lines, and I get that sense here. And I also see here with sacrifice, we have the 10 of Swords, which is a Sun card, and we do see Libra again, because Libra is showing up in the 3 of Birds and with the Elementalist card. So Libra coming in 3 different times, which kind of confirms a strong mind. And that could also confirm that Charlatan card as well is deliberate and telepathic, again, abilities that you have very strongly, but in a masculine sense, it could be trying to exert, again, control. But this card feels very dreamlike, but it also really mirrors that sense of sacrifice, of having to let go of something that ultimately, that's the thing to remember, is that this experience is what's causing you to be really grounded, really comfortable in who you are and in accepting the environment for what it is. And I think other people will eventually gravitate towards you as someone who is an authority of embracing change, which it's like remaining grounded throughout various phases of your life, because we all go through those, you know, big shifts, big events, losing people, losing sometimes hope. But we have underneath the 8 of Trees the 10 of Pentacles. So again, lots of air, lots of pentacles. I think it's Virgo. Is it Mercury? Maybe. Even if it's not, I get a lot of expression and being proud and happy, and that's kind of, you find happiness, your divine masculine finds happiness in material things, but not just for, although this is kind of showy, not just for show. This is so you could feel comfortable. So, and I feel like maybe some of you enjoy not just having a lot of things, but having good quality things. Like it's more important for you to have something that's stable and doesn't fall apart, like a luxury car, if that's something you could get, or like clothing that just doesn't wear out. That's your divine masculine for sure. Let's clarify the Elementalist and then see about healing these wounds. Okay. More swords. We have the 8 of Swords. I'm going to clarify that, actually. 8 of Swords. Because that 8 of Swords, the Elementalist card, could... Okay. Some of you might be in a relationship where you feel like you can't be completely honest about how you feel. That's kind of what I'm getting with this, potentially, because the Elementalist is, and this isn't a gender or specific thing, but more of different contrasting energies. So you might be dealing with someone who's just maybe has like a wounded feminine side that kind of mirrors your, you know, potentially wounded masculine, and that feminine energy might be causing you to feel trapped. And that's kind of something that honestly would make sense that you would try and sneak your way out of by influence. So that's just a message for some of you. I don't know if that's going to be relevant for all of you, but with, yeah, Eight of Swords here, it's pretty apparent what's going on. Clarifying the Elementalist again. Alternatively, of course, this is a general reading. I'll probably say that a few more times, but part of the desire to be the Elementalist is to, because of feeling trapped within the mind, and it's like those past experiences of loss and transition kind of carried over into feeling trapped, like you don't have a say in how the world unfolds in front of you. And that feeling of being trapped is what's causing you to maybe study occult arts. And it's kind of interesting how that would be a masculine way of approaching it, where, again, not gender based, but where you want to absorb the information you're trying to learn. You want to, it's an active thing that you do. I want to read this book and do this instead of doing that or learning intuitively through spirit. It's more of deliberately reading, and that's kind of, that might have been, if being Libra, I'm just getting that you might have been drawn to that path subconsciously because of that experience, whatever that was. Let's look at that Three of Birds. The Knight of Swords. It feels like a person who's come in and done some sort of damage, maybe not deliberately, maybe someone just moving too fast, and maybe part of what was happening in the past was part of a move that didn't go well. This could have also been something that, like, you wanted to move with a partner or with a friend, go on not necessarily vacation, but like a trip, a voyage with someone, and that didn't go through for some reason, and that kind of hurt you, especially being the masculine, especially being someone who, not necessarily you, but at that aspect of you that wants stability, and instead encountered something shady. And that sense of doubt would make, again, make someone want to exert more control, be more stable, and have more of an influence as to the life that they live, essentially. So let's see about healing. How could you go about healing? Mostly, I mean, I'll place them all down, but the energy of, I'll just say it, I have to say it. Six of Cups, the Ten of Swords, Sacrifice, Eight of Wands, Eight of Swords, and Three of Swords. So pretty much all the swords. We'll just see healing messages. Healing messages. Okay, so the first thing is these cards have, okay, I'll just show you. These cards have keywords. I'm not crazy about keywords, but I just want to show you because I kind of use them because they're just words and they're staring at me, but I'll apply intuition to it, of course. But with the Seven of Pentacles, referring to growth, again, lots of that pentacle energy, and like the card suggests, it's growth, and that's a way you could shift if you find yourself reflecting on whatever happened, to see it as like the Elementalist card suggests, like the Eight of Pentacles card is showing me that this is, that experience brought this desire to bring forth balance. Because if you didn't experience that loss, if you didn't experience this sort of traumatic change, you'd be comfortable with whatever happens. And part of this is kind of directing the control in a more positive way. And that's just what I'm getting with growth, is being secure within yourself. That's why the King of Pentacles is kind of standing out in that way. Okay, and we do see the moon there, so this is also confirmation of things that are influencing your divine masculine in the background. So again, just in case if you don't feel like this reading is resonating too much, it might be because it's beneath the surface and subconscious, and I would maybe come back to it. But we have 7 there. We have the Father of Horns, which is the King of Cups. I think part of it is, it could be therapy. It could be also like a friend who is male or masculine or possesses that sort of energy, kind of like a reflection of the person who might have hurt you, and or just someone who can listen to what you have to say. It doesn't have to make sense. They don't have to understand it, and you don't have to. That's big. I think that's why I said that, is that it would be beneficial for you to open up to someone that you don't feel you have to justify anything. That's very big. That'll switch this and put it in its balanced polarity, which would be the Magician, which is more aligned with the Wisdom card that we have here, right? Boop. Okay, let's draw a couple more cards. Maybe just one more. Okay, so one more card for healing. We have the Hierophant. This is why this is here. Lots of Earth, lots of Taurus, lots of being practical in your approach, having more faith. You could have a significant sort of bird guide or ancestral guidance there, but especially with the Hierophant, it's shifting that perspective from, and again, that's the tricky part, is at a subconscious level. I wouldn't be surprised if writing would be helpful, like just writing, and not for anyone to see, just to allow, what do you call it, automatic writing. And that might be your subconscious, and if you can kind of establish a dialogue, that would be helpful in saying that, hey, this, what happened here, like the 7 of Pentacles is showing, promotes growth within you, but more importantly, with the Hierophant and the Wisdom card, it's taken you to another level that you wouldn't have reached otherwise, right? Especially with the Wisdom and Hierophant, you could probably be someone who teaches other people about this, like I said, transition, the spiritual journey that you've embarked upon because of the pain that you've endured early on. So let's take a really brief, very brief look at your Divine Feminine, just a card. I'm not going to go very deep, but I just kind of want to see how it connects to this reading in particular, and then definitely check out Helen's video at Eye of the Serpent Tarot. She's, again, phenomenal. If you're from her channel, first of all, like, thank you for showing up and listening to me, and you already know how deep her readings can go, but I just kind of wanted to see, let's see, do one oracle, one tarot, just to see, check in on that Divine Feminine energy before wrapping up the reading with beings of light, just seeing what kind of energies are near you that could assist you with this healing and balancing process with the Divine Masculine. But first, just to check in with the Feminine. Anything else? Oh, okay. This is crazy. I mean, it always gets me. I'm pretty sure I just said balance, right? 24 with balance. I do feel as though your Divine Feminine is very balanced. And then we have now seize the moment. But we do have, like the card suggests, there's kind of this duality going on here with number 37. We have 24 as well. Look at that difference. And that could have something to do with the moon, right? Maybe in this case, it's like the sun is the feminine that is psychic, and the moon is actually the masculine energy for you, where you're not really as aware as to its pain, its influence, and so forth. But let's go ahead and I'm just gonna do one, like a tarot card for the feminine, just to get, maybe there's something else in there. So we have the Ace of Wands and the Fool for the Divine Feminine. And again, this is, of course, not an extensive part of the reading, but a lot of confidence, a lot of fire, a lot of passion. I think you're more comfortable in the present moment. The feminine part of you is, and the masculine kind of wants to learn and grow and manipulate the environment, which is where that healing would come in. But just to show you the Ace of Wands and the Fool here. With the Fool, you're very comfortable under the water. At least your divine feminine aspect is very comfortable. With the subconscious, well, not necessarily the subconscious, but the emotional aspect. And there wasn't too much water in this reading, which is something to keep in mind, that this is the masculine friction, little obstacle, if you want to call it that. It has to do more with lots of air energy and lots of pentacle energy, and the pentacles would be kind of the way to not necessarily balance the elementals, because they don't really balance each other out, but in this case that would be how you counterbalance that excess air. It's like when the trees are, there's a hurricane. I live in Florida, there's a hurricane, but the roots get really deep with the mangroves, and that kind of prevents obviously the tree from getting knocked out. KO. I'm silly. Okay, so last oracle card, just wrapping up the reading with the divine masculine energy. We're just gonna see what divine beings of light are here to kind of guide you, heal, just a special message. Okay, sorry about that. Just really quickly, we have number 52, the goddess Durga, with hematite spear of the Guru Mother, and this is helping with the divine masculine energy. Interesting that we have such grounding energy. That is not an accident, of course, with the spear of the Guru Mother, which is all about redirecting and focusing your mind and energy, and having one point of focus and keeping to it. And that's probably why you have the elementalist here, somewhere in here, which would be what shifts this energy, right, of feeling trapped and having to kind of sneak your way out of this environment of being trapped. Again, this is a mental construct, of course, and then the way out of that would be just exerting more control within your own mind, as opposed to trying to influence other people. But definitely a lot of grounding. Definitely work with hematite and Durga, or Kali, really. Any grounding being that would make you feel just more secure within yourself. And also, since you chose this, the indigo gabbro is an excellent stone to keep the mind psychically active, I guess, while being very grounded. So I definitely recommend this stone. And I also recommend that you watch Helen's video on the divine feminine to get the full I guess the full effect, the full body and depth that this collaboration has to offer. You won't regret it. She's, again, incredible, and it was a pleasure to read for you. I hope to see you in the next video. Take care. Hi, Pile 2. If you chose this labradorite sphere, this is going to be your reading, and we're going to be, of course, like I mentioned in the intro, covering the divine masculine portion of this collaborative reading with Helen from Eye of the Serpent Tarot. So I wanted to start with the astrology, the astrological aspects that influence the divine masculine within you, but I'm not going to dive too deep because it's not really a strength of mine, to be honest, but I just wanted to see how these were relevant to you personally. So take them and apply them to your chart, and maybe they're reading, just seeing how it goes. But the first card we have is Uranus, and I think it's invention, like creating something from yourself. It's also, I think, within, if I remember, the deck mentions it being kind of like the higher octave of Mercury, so communication. And so I'll just see how Uranus places on your chart, how it interacts maybe with your sun sign and maybe with other more masculine astrological bodies. And then we have the number 2, which is interesting. So you might have a life path 2, you might just see 2 a lot. There's duality, choice, meeting in the middle, balancing something out, but also there's this reflective and creative property with the number 2 as well. So I have a few oracle cards out and a row of tarot. We're going to clarify the tarot a little bit later. But the first card I wanted to show you was the masculine archetype that your divine masculine energy is currently embodying, and that's the athlete, which is a subcategory of the warrior. So you're probably competitive. That's at least part of it. This athlete, the imagery is interesting, isn't it? It's really cool to see that, I guess, diversity and representation here, but also working with what you have. Maybe, I mean, of course, it could be a physical condition that you have, but also you might have felt as though you were at a disadvantage in some sort of competitive, not just field, but in general in life. Like, you didn't have what everyone else had, and this could have to do with money, it could have to do with just opportunity. And part of, I think, what's coming through with your divine masculine is your ability to overcome that and still be strong and confident within yourself. But let's continue. I have a potential card. Well, the card is potential, with a moon, and it's like the grass is moving, something's coming, right? So this could suggest that your divine masculine is still blossoming into its, like the card says, you know, full potential. And we'll look into that a little deeper in a second. But let's look at the tarot. I have the first card here is the unknown, which is, it corresponds to, I've been getting this a lot, so I should know. It's blocked for some reason, but here we go. Unknown, traveling to new destinations. That ties very nicely to the potential, so you don't really know how you could direct this energy yet. We do have the 5 of birds, which is the 5 of swords, and that's really showing this transition, maybe leaving an environment that was a little turbulent. This could be part of a struggle that you've had in the recent past, and part of the unknown card, which is the judgment card, is moving the realization that a certain environment that you're in isn't really suitable for you. And especially these birds kind of look like parents. This could be parental influence within the divine masculine in creating space for yourself and expressing yourself more fully. And I say expressing yourself fully because the next card is the Ace of Lotuses, which is the Ace of Cups. Very vibrant, very beautiful card here. With, if you notice in the top, the wind, the sky. Notice how the sky changes from being very dramatic, lots of drama there, and moving from that to something more calm, where you could really feel like your fullest self. And I think that's kind of something that's coming through with the athlete card as well, and the warrior, is being able to be a warrior in your own way. Lots of creative energy with you. So let's continue. We have the veil, which I completely have no idea what card this is. which is the number 12. And I could definitely read it differently, which is what I usually do with this. It could be the Hangman. I don't know. I honestly have no idea. But what I'm getting at is a transition into more spiritual awareness, more recognition of the subtle energies and how those energies influence your daily life. And in particular with this pile, it's how spirit is influencing your destiny. And I think part of this joy is with communicating with spirit, with your guides, with ancestors. Interesting how this is coming through with the masculine energy, because it just feels new, fresh, and exciting. And I think the divine masculine part of you is happy to kind of learn and interact with the world in that way. We're continuing, but we do have the 5 of Embers, which is the 5 of Wands, showing up with Mars. And but this one's in reverse. I usually don't do reversals, but I just decided to leave it in, which is kind of transitioning out of this Mars energy. And that's showing up. It's kind of like a reflection of this 5 of Swords. So if you're feeling like that, that's probably why. If you're feeling like you have to move on, that you have to evolve, that's probably what this is showing, is that you've been in those environments where there's a lot of competition, where there's a lot of outside influence, and you're becoming more firm and confident in who you are, what you have to offer, and how you could express yourself. I was going to say grounding. Yeah, I'll say it. Kind of, well, not grounding, just describing the spiritual side in a way that you can use practically on a daily life. It's like merging spirituality with the mundane, and that's just opening new doors for you. And I know it kind of has that feminine energy sort of feel, where it's mystical and psychic, but this is more of an analytical view of spirituality, which is something that you're using as a weapon for your warrior self, which is something that you might have felt you didn't have. So this new awareness is kind of giving you an edge as to how you can kind of interact with the world. So let's do another row. I'm just going to clarify this row. I'm going to see, it doesn't look like there's a lot of trauma though, lots of healing that needs to be done. This is more of like a gradual journey of perception and shifting that perception and distinguishing your energy from the energy of others. And that would be probably where the boundaries would come in, where that becomes more ingrained as a part of your routine, is putting up a wall with other people's thoughts, with that 5 of Wands energy. That's why it's in reverse, because you just, and even this the 5 of Swords, there's the egg that's leaving. So you don't have the patience to be dealing with that, and that warrior energy is kind of what drives you out, and that on top of your psychic abilities, your ability to detect the subtle energies is what allows you to move pretty quickly out of situations you don't want to be in. I'll just show you. You see the egg there. Okay. Oh. I almost mixed them up. Okay. So describing the Judgment card is the 8 of Pentacles, which showed up in the last reading. I should know what sign it is, but I kind of forgot. But really, building something, growing something. this is what makes you feel progress is it's like making spirituality physical in a way. I don't know how else to describe it, so you'll have to forgive me. We have the 8 of wands with the 5 of birds. So you're not afraid to express yourself, and you feel again with the wands, with the Mercury and Sagittarius, you're not afraid to express yourself when you need to, and that's part of that warrior strength that you have within you. So you have a very powerful, fairly balanced masculine energy, and even when the situation comes in where you don't think things are fair, or you think something's off, you're very quick, that's what I notice, to move out of that environment, to express yourself, or just leave and not deal with it. And then the opposite would be, well, not the opposite, but it's kind of like this flip side is when life seems to be moving fairly quickly, there's a lot of transitions, and things are up in the air. That's when you start to ground yourself and slow things down, and be a bit more practical in what your approach would be for the next step. With this card here, it's very warm too, isn't it? Okay, so let's look at your Ace of Cups, which is in the middle, and that's the 8 of Cups. So I just want to point out that we have 3 8s, 8 8 8. Very, very powerful 8 energy, very strong. Well, yeah, I'm not surprised, because you have the warrior archetype, or the athlete more specifically, which is the sub archetype for that, but lots of strength, lots and lots of strength, lots of power with you, lots of influence. But this one is the 8 of Cups, and I could see how it would be underneath the Ace of Cups. So what I'm getting at is that this comfort that you have with expressing yourself came from disassociating from people that you just didn't feel were connected to you, and that might have been uncomfortable at first, but I honestly think that you've become very comfortable with just, as I said, leaving people that aren't for you. That's I feel your divine feminine energy might be able to detect it, but the masculine is what makes the actions. Like, actually, I'm leaving right now. I'm just not going to deal with this. And you don't get sad. You don't get too sad about it. You move on with ease, because you're very comfortable within yourself. You don't have anything to prove to anyone. You have confidence and stability with your spirit guides, and that's coming through very strongly. So let's see the last 2 cards. We have the Veil. Okay. The Veil with the 6 of Wands, 6 of Swords, which is Mercury again showing up. So lots of I know Mercury wasn't part of the astrological aspects, but you might have significant Mercury placements as well, and I think that's also part of your strength is communication. A lot of communication, a lot of fast energy with you, and well, it's a lot of fast energy with you, but we have a couple of cards that are a bit slow with the 8 of Pentacles and the 6 of Swords. But again, what's happening here is, because we did get the 5 of Swords earlier, and the egg was, as I showed you, leaving that environment. Here it's like, through your connection with your spiritual team, and through meditation and through your interest in spirituality, you've been able to again recognize old thought patterns that were not yours and not relevant, and that's kind of led to this spark, this warrior energy, this athlete. And I could see it with the athlete that it's fun. It's not really a challenge for you. You're enjoying this process of It's kind of like investigative work where you're recognizing, hey, actually, these thoughts of you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't move yet, you're not going to be stable. Those aren't mine. Those are other people's. And what allows you to see through that is meditation, your connection with your spiritual team, and you're able to distinguish between kind of the positive, more open feeling thoughts. Yeah, the expansive thinking, the thinking that leads to possibility and potential, like the card. You're about potential. You go for the potential. You're not really worried about today's limitation because you could move it. You have the power. You have the hammer here. You have 3 8s. You really, this masculine energy feels like a force, and that's why, I mean, you chose this ridiculously massive sphere. Look how big this thing is. Like, this thing demands attention, and this feels like you. You're big, you're unapologetic. The labradorite is a stone of transformation. It's a stone of bringing out your magic. And like the previous stone, I like psychic stones, or intuitive stones, third eye, stuff like that. But I also like that to be grounding. So I don't like sacrificing something that's really, really, really high vibration at the expense of disconnecting from my body. That's not something I enjoy, and I feel like this pile would connect with that. You probably have either a strong like solar plexus or sacral chakra, where you feel really confident in your ability to do things. And then we have the 6 of Pentacles underneath the 5 of Embers. It just feels like it's just a lot of balance with you. You're very balanced in your approach to things. And I think that's part of where your confidence comes from. With, okay, well, I'm going to leave this environment now. I'm going to leave these people, and I'm not worried because I know that karma's got my side. I know that if I'm looking for my best opportunity, and if I'm unwilling to accept kind of the baggage that other people bring forth, then I'll naturally attract like-minded people. I'll naturally attract an audience who's kind of like at your frequency. So let's continue and see. I'm gonna skip the part of the healing, and I'm looking at the time, and it works out perfectly because I guess this reading was a little longer than the last one. But your masculine energy, to be completely honest, really, there's no need to heal anything. I'll just put it that way. So what we're gonna do now is just take a very brief surface level check-in with your divine feminine, just to compare, see how it relates to this reading. I'm just gonna do like 1 or 2, let's see, 1 or 2 tarot cards, 1 oracle card, and then close out the reading with an oracle message for your divine masculine. Okay. Oops. So I already have the tarot out, but I'm getting that your divine feminine is pretty similar, actually, in terms of focus. Maybe a little less balanced, though. Maybe a little more aggressive and demanding from a mental standpoint, as far as exerting your perceptions of reality onto other people. But that sense of community is a little bit stronger. So that's kind of the opposite, right? Where all these cards, yeah, all of these cards are about leaving leaving environments, leaving people, leaving old thought patterns, leaving ancestral karma behind that isn't for you, and not being afraid to do it. This feminine energy is about coming together, which is really interesting because I have the 3 of Pentacles here with the bee, and you'll notice how it mirrors the 6 of Pentacles that I saw earlier. So your divine masculine is well aware of its balance with the divine feminine. So unlike, you know, maybe some of the other readings, it's not in your subconscious mind. Your divine masculine, in other words, you're very, as I said, aware of its influence. And that was the Queen of Swords that I mentioned for the divine feminine. You might have a connection to owls. But that aggression is not aggressive like a negative way, but it's that powerful energy. I feel it in your feminine side as well. And then we have momentum, the flow, describing your feminine energy, going with the flow, probably more so than the masculine, which this obviously this part of you is not afraid to go against the current. You'll with the pentacles, with a lot of the cards that we saw, the 8 of Wands as well, is that you'd be willing to just break through and not deal with it. Your feminine is where when you feel like, let me just wait this out, let me just see how this unfolds first. That would be your divine feminine. Okay, so let's finally just close out the reading with I guess guidance, an additional message from a being of light. We have goddesses, ascended masters, and angels in this deck, and we'll just see what comes out, just to close out the reading, really. And as I said, that was a surface level look at the divine feminine. I would, of course, if you haven't already seen Helen's reading at Eye of the Serpent Tarot, she'll go really deep. She's just outstanding at that regard, where she'll just go ask so many questions, go really deep. All of her readings are like that, and that's why I really love watching her. So I'm sure if you haven't already gone there, you'll really enjoy her reading as well. So we have Ascended Master Yogananda and Rhodonite. I could swear I remember who that was, but this is an Ascended Master, and it's empowered service. This is where that 6 of Pentacles is showing itself again, which is that whole journey that you've gone through. It's almost like cataloging it and expressing it and teaching it to others and encouraging people to have the confidence to do the same thing that you did, which is just leave an environment behind, leave a mindset behind that isn't really aligned with who you're becoming. And then we have Ascended Master White Matthew with Danbarite and the original self. So being very confident in who you are, being very bright, very balanced. This pile I feel is very balanced all around as far as divine masculine, within the divine masculine and the divine feminine. Of course, you could find that out in Helen's reading. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Please let me know in the comments. Please consider liking, subscribing. It would be wonderful for me to read for you again, and hopefully you enjoyed. And hopefully I'll see you in the next reading. Take care. Hi, pile 3. If you chose the sodalite sphere, this is going to be your reading. And this is going to be, of course, part of the collaboration. I'm going to be doing the divine masculine, and Helen from Eye of the Serpent Tarot is going to be doing the divine feminine. So let's dive right in. I have a few oracle cards out, a few tarot cards out. We're going to just do a general energetic check-in with the divine masculine and take it from there. But before we do that, I have a few astrology cards just to see what astrological aspects are relevant to your divine masculine, just so you could dive a little deeper into that. And we have the waning crescent. It's kind of that transition into darkness, letting go. So you might have a moon that kind of fits that category. We have the earth, so we're going to have prominent earth placements, or at least, excuse me, the earth element is a major part of your divine masculine energy. And then we have Neptune. So again, very mysterious, very extremely psychic energy, and a lot of abstraction here. And we'll see how that's relevant, I guess, in the reading, and just tying into your personal chart, so you can look at that as a point of reference. But we're going to continue. The divine or the masculine archetype card that you have is the teacher. So this is the current energy. You're at a place where you have excellent communication skills, and you're at a place where you're applying wisdom into the larger world. That wisdom comes from experience, and that wisdom comes from mysticism as well, because this wisdom card, this teacher card, is a subcategory of the wizard as an archetype. So it's kind of like applying magic and teaching magic. So you might want to be a teacher of magic, and that could be the divine masculine part of you that wants to share, and it's an outpouring of energy as opposed to being receptive. So you might receive that wisdom through experience, through meditation, through your spiritual guides, and you would teach it. That's that masculine, your own interpretation, your own version of that, and helping other people navigate the world in that way. And I kind of just mentioned Neptune with the whole wizard vibe, so that could be part of where that's applying. But there we go. Okay. We also have the plants card. So this definitely connects to Earth. You have a very strong Earth connection, and I think that's part of what you teach to others, is to appreciate the Earth, to not only appreciate the Earth, but also learn from it, learn from the cycles of the Earth, learn from the external environment, and apply it as the as above, so below, so within, so without. You know how it is. But learning through the natural environment and teaching others through that kind of grounding of the Neptune energy. So let's look at the tarot. We have, I'll just read them all out because they're flipped up actually. I have the Emperor, which is the Pelican, the Six of Pentacles, we have the Two of Pentacles, the Bridge, which is the Death card, and then the Six of Swords. So we have two sixes, which is honestly, like, I feel it's the highest aspect of each of the court cards. It's very heart-centered. With the Emperor here, I think that's where this teacher is coming from, is that's kind of satisfying that divine masculine desire to add structure to something that could be perceived as very ethereal. And I love okay. I love Pelicans so much that I only have this deck because of this card. So this is of course Aries, but we're also seeing that stability. These are very big birds, and they demand a lot of attention. And you notice the wand. I just get this feeling, these feel very connected here. I could imagine the pelican being like your spiritual self, or that could be like a spirit guide. But we also have the Six of Trees, which is being comfortable giving and receiving for that. I'm just going to go fairly quickly with this portion, because it feels like a blending as well as two distinct energies, like I said, because we have the Death card with the Bridge, and I feel as though you, like one of the other piles, are very connected to the spiritual realm, and part of what you're here to do is kind of bridge that gap between those two very different realities, if you will. We have the Two of Trees, so this might take time, and I think part of your gift from a divine masculine perspective is patience. I feel like you're a very patient pile, very mature, and again, it takes a lot of patience to go from, yeah, the 2 of trees to the 6 of trees. But look, all this progress, all this waiting is very much worth it, and it's very balanced, and it's something that you could, all the work that you put in is for more than just you. I think that's a big thing for this pile, especially with the teacher, and all the wisdom that you absorb, all of the life lessons, all of your, again, like observations, all of your connection with your spiritual guides, your spiritual team. It's not just for you, and you're very selfless about that. You're willing to share, like, you know, with the Earth card, share your wisdom, share your knowledge, and be a place of comfort for others, especially with the bridge being here. As more people, you know, awaken and connect with spirituality, they'll have someone who is very grounded and can explain what's happening in a very practical sense. And then we have the 6 of Swords, so 2 sixes. This one is all about, again, Mercury, so that communication, actually, I didn't even notice it, but with the teacher, and I think I had mentioned your communication is very good, so this is kind of evident of that. But not only that, being comfortable moving forward, I feel like this energy has more to do with the people that you're teaching. So kind of the energy you give out is shifting their perspective. I just saw 1111, so I'll take that as confirmation. Let's move along, and I guess I'll clarify these real quick and then go on to balancing healing if there's anything that you need, but I'm not really seeing too much of that here. Okay, if we could just clarify, please. Okay, so for the 6 of trees, we have the 9 of wands. So you might have felt as though you had to fight for this. This was not necessarily a walk in the park, and that it took a lot of deliberate action. And but yeah, with the Hierophant, very strong teaching abilities, very strong connection to spirit, and grounding that again. We'll see. Look at the imagery. Look at the way the figure is holding the book. These 2 cards, the exact same position. Isn't that crazy? Look at that. And it's like the gold in this card is within his mind. This is just a very strong imagery. It really popped out. So this is, that's kind of like your main energy here with the Hierophant, with yeah, Taurus. We have 2 of Pentacles coming in again underneath the 6 of Birds. So being calculating in your approach to moving forward, and not only this, but being calculating in how you express to other people their ability to take their life into their own hands. As far as their, especially thought patterns, I mean, you can't really control the external environment, but you can change your perception of the reality that's in front of you. And then we have the 3 of Wands, which is underneath the 2 of Trees here. So it's interesting. Patience again, coming through because of the nature of this card, which is what, the Sun in Aries. This card is a lot more action oriented, but usually it's a more patient imagery where, what is it, expectations manifest, right? Where you know what you want, you hold it in your mind. And this is where kind of that masculine part of you, there's a lot of confidence with this pile. I feel like there's a lot of work that's been done already. This healing is really in the past, but it is something that took work. It was a deliberate effort, the thing is that this effort is paying off, and it's kind of being reflected in a few different ways, right? Where it's the work that was put in to like shadow work, again, very slow, but you were discerning and, you know, how to approach healing the masculine and how to approach absorbing, you know, spiritual wisdom, and how to approach teaching it as well. So there's, especially since it came up twice, Two of Pentacles in two different decks right there. Okay. Okay. Let's just see real quick if there's anything that needs healing, but I'm not gonna force it either. So it was only one card, and it's interesting because it's the Two of Swords, and you have the Two of Pentacles coming up twice, so the number 2 is fairly prominent with you. I think the only thing that needs healing is potentially getting a little stuck with, because it came up twice, the Two of Pentacles, and you could imagine, or this is Capricorn doing what it does. Where it's just being very organized, not to get too caught up in the planning, and to embody. I think that's why this card is here, to embody the go-getting energy. It's like, and that's that again, masculine aspect of you that actually moves forward, physically takes the action, instead of with other tarot decks waiting. There is no waiting here in this Three of Wands. But that being said, I'll show you the Two of Swords. Feeling weighed down and feeling possibly like you have to incorporate other people's perspectives, and you might be taking into account, yeah, just other people, you know. Let's see. Yeah, it could come across as a sacrifice sometimes, where like you enjoy freedom and moving quickly, and sometimes it just takes a little more effort to apply that patience, right? And to create this sort of environment. Okay. Alright, I'm moving fairly quickly. But yeah, let's actually take a quick look, a very brief surface level peek at the divine feminine energy, just to get, again, just a sense of how this connects with the divine feminine. And of course, I would highly recommend watching Helen's video on that, where she will go in depth. She's excellent at really asking the right questions, really going very deep in her readings, and so I would highly recommend watching the full divine feminine aspect. But here what I'm getting is the Ten of Pentacles and the Strength card. So the patience for the masculine side has to do with bringing and taking your time with being almost kind of like Empress sort of vibes with this Ten of Pentacles and the Strength card. So you might have had to overcome a few more, there might have been a little bit more healing required in the divine feminine side, where you feel a little more comfortable in who you are and a little more fierce and fight. There's more fight here, and the reward is this. I'm just going to show you the Six of Trees, right? And I'll also show you the Emperor. I actually just mentioned the Empress, right? So there's just a little hint of maybe giving too much of yourself, being a little too empathic on the feminine side. Again, I would check out Helen's reading on Eye of the Serpent Tarot, but there's just kind of that a subtle hint of that here. And I think your masculine energy is showing a lot more authority within the self, where you're a lot more cognizant as far as where you allocate your time, you know, especially with the Two of Pentacles coming in twice. You know, am I gonna put this energy, my time, my materials, you know, towards someone else, which would be the teaching part, or am I going to absorb this information? And the masculine energy really knows how to balance these two aspects very well. So definitely very strong spiritual teacher vibes. So let's see, just a final message from your divine masculine, just to see what beings of light. We have archangels, ascended masters, and goddesses in this deck, and we'll just see which one of those is closest to you now and could bring more balance into both of your energies, but in particular the divine masculine. So we have the number 8 with Archangel Michael, and lapis lazuli with the vision. The vision is interesting because, as we saw, you know, with the Hierophant, as we saw with the Six of Trees, there's a lot of forward thinking, like visualizing something that doesn't exist yet and going after it and being patient and making that happen. And that's where that vision comes in, is anchoring in faith and trust in the process and your ability to make that manifestation happen. So yeah, very strong. I'll say that probably a few more times. A strong sense of being grounded within yourself and confidence, and taking your time building things and allowing your mind to expand so you could share that. This is very deliberate. It's a slow game, but the impact that it leaves is very long lasting, and that's kind of the benefit with that. You might have, of course, a strong connection with Archangel Michael, or I'm not too surprised because you chose the sodalite, which is I'll call it a cousin of lapis lazuli. But and then we also have Archangel Balthiel and rose quartz with heart healing. And I had mentioned, I believe, with the six is coming in twice, 6 of swords and the 6 of pentacles, that there's a lot of heart-centered energy with you. And I think that's a very big strength, especially to have in the masculine energy, you know, to be heart-centered and to have a vision that is expansive, that goes, as I said, beyond you. So this is a lot of loving energy from this masculine side, and it's kind of like with Archangel Shamuel, who's a masculine figure but corresponds to kind of the love energy. And this is what's going to be, I think, your mark on this world, is applying the psychic abilities and grounding it in a heart-centered way to kind of lead the way to a new way of perceiving reality, a new way of thinking, a new way of being for future generations, and something that's in a very long-lasting way. And as I said, like, if you want to see how you could balance this out and incorporate the full extent of all of your energies, I would highly recommend watching Helen at Eye of the Serpent Tarot, with just so you could get the fullest experience with this reading. But otherwise, it was a pleasure reading for you, and I hope to see you in the next reading. Take care.